I would like to begin by explaining where the paintings in this little book fit into the poems. They were not done as illustrations, and the poems were not written as some kind of ekphrastic exercise. They were generally created side by side, and the paintings, they look abstract. I call them abstractions because my mind was in nature when I was painting them. And I was picking up on an idea that I found some years ago about painting nature, that it should not necessarily mean we try to paint what we're looking at. In my case, what I'm looking at, past or present, is desert landscapes. And I've never found deserts very easy to paint visually. But if we get into what it actually feels like to be in the desert and realizing how colorful deserts really are, at least our deserts here in Arizona. So that's where the paintings fit in. And the poems are partly about that zone of Arizona, the northeast corner, Navajo country, where the landscape is as raw and basic as any that I know. That was something that interested me. And also very close to where I live, I have access to a rather large 20,000 acre desert mountain park that runs right through the south of the city. Shows you what a huge city this is. But I often go and visit the desert there, even if it's just a small patch, and that's the other geographical place these have come from. I'm going to begin with an Anasazi triptych. The Anasazis were at home in that northern area of Arizona. It's interesting to me how Europeans are surrounded by the ruins of their culture, 15, 1600, whereas here in Arizona, we really are surrounded by the ruins of this culture, except it's invisible. We don't see it. It's been buried. It's not often excavated, but it's very interesting to look back on that. Anyway, these are the three parts of my Anasazi triptych. The first, earth bones. It takes a lifetime walking between the ethnoid bone and the horizon. Shadows peel away from time. The sun balances on the fibula that rests along the edge of a mesa, and the ribs of a canyon pull apart to let migrations through to open land where vertebrae have risen through the emptiness that makes of the ground a sacred space. Skyscape. There is a sky that won't descend from high in the eternal realm, but grows out from the earth with its cargo of storms and blades of sunlight. It mirrors the land it dominates, pulls thunder out of the infinite nowheres that float behind the clouds, and spans the spaces from ice with no heart to the midsummer glare of rocks that think of themselves as fallen suns. Shadowland. The earth's long cliffs sway in hallucination's light, where it falls between what belongs to the earth and what the sun has claimed as its own. So from the ancient lands and the northern parts of the state, I am turning to that which is closer to home for me, and also to anyone who does not live in the desert. It really is a more mystical and magical environment. The word desert tends to suggest barrenness. It's economical. But when those times of year come around that we have much that blooms, we can experience what I here call earth tones. The sky comes all the way down to the ground with nothing in its way to interrupt the view. And gravel flows in the arroyos, saguaros hold their flowers for the sun to see, mesquites crouch half broken, with verdins on the branches, lizards by the roots, and dove calls in the morning light that wanders downslope from the mountain to the desert with its colors underground. Red hearts in rocks, the yellow souls of bees, and blue memory of night. And making this even more local, a page of ours is really about my yard. Not that we should always be thinking of our backyards as deserts, but the climate is the same. I do get good deal of desert wildlife drifting through, especially the birds in migration season. But, very often we see the javelina tracks and coyotes visiting, and we're quite used to them. In fact, they're very popular. Well, this is a page of ours, and I did 3 watercolors, which somehow symbolized for me the Earth's movement and the moods of the different times of day. Mid-afternoon, when gardens glow and simple backyards with their stacks and stones lie back, waiting for the birds to make what is ordinary special. Lazy shadows pick themselves off the ground to drift toward their next appointment, the one in which they hold a conference with doubt. Anyone's invited, any hopeful optimist or herald of the fear night brings, when warm air and cold time collide. Daylight on the run, the sun exhales. Hawk in the restless sky. It has happened before, so often the trees have forgotten where memories roost. No gardens now, but continents, and each of them in turn closes both its eyes. It is then possible to hear light dripping from the edge of the world. And to finish, I would like to read just the final section of Dark Night of the Desert, to which there are a few more sections. But the night especially seems to be that magical time, even in the summer, when no one could imagine us putting up with what Phoenix brings us, at least by daytime. But at night, when everything calms, it's a very different kind of atmosphere. Midnight takes whatever the desert has withheld by day, and the aroma on a spring night drifts through the eye of every needle used to sew the hems of darkness to the ground.